Nyasha, it's a real pleasure to be able to interview you today. We are recording this in the heart of Harare, but your journey hasn't always been in Harare.
It began somewhere. I was born and raised in a small village in Boera, Manikland. My father, who was a school teacher, was a polygamist. I never managed to taste the love of a father because unfortunately my father passed on when I was 2 years, 5 months. So I was then raised by a single mom. Growing up in rural areas, we used to herd cattle and all those stuffs like plowing. I'm very good at that. My financial status was not that bright, so making it to high school was something, even I myself, I never imagined how I managed to make it to high school. So it's indeed a milestone in my life. I'm an artist, by the way. I did my first songs when I was in Form 3. It was not to raise my monetary status. It was just like a hobby. But the way people fell in love with my music was amazing, and I was so humbled by their support.
kusvika ndasvika mweya mutsvene chizodzika ushenu hwenzira ndinotsika ndakumbira chizovhika vakaipa mhiko dzavanopika mweya mutsvene chizodzika ushenu hwenzira ndinotsika ndakumbira chizovhika vakaipa mhiko dzavanopika manduhora dzinondigaira pasina chandovatadzira jamba nemunyama vanondishuvira.
Before transitioning to A level, some of my teachers, they knew that I was good academically, but I faced a lot of challenges when it comes to paying my fees. So there's this other lady who used to work at Msokomba who introduced me to Makomborero, Zimbabwe. She even paid for my bus fare from Boera for the interviews. She assisted me with printing the documents and transporting the documents from Boera to Harare. Because back then at the school there was no internet facilities, so she had to travel from Boera to Harare to submit the forms. It's so difficult to communicate with one person or the other due to limited network facilities. My former school head, Mr. Makish, Mr. Makish received the call from Ms. Chikore and he notified me that I've been selected. There is a certain gentleman who stay nearby my place. So the headmaster would call that guy for him to pass on the message to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was Mrs. Chikore calls the head calls someone else, exactly. And he walks to your house to give you the message. Exactly. That's community at work.
When I received the message, it was like I was dreaming, because you can testify that most of the applicants from Makomborero are from schools like Zengeza, Mfakos, all these schools which had a good academic record as far as their pass rate is concerned. So during the interview process, I considered myself as an underdog because I belong to an environment which can fit in the same environment those guys are coming from.
And then you've done your A-levels, you've finished. Did you have any idea what you do after that?
Yes, I always wanted to be an electrical engineer, because back then when I was still a young boy, I used to play with electrical appliances. Sometimes I used to repair the electrical stoves, irons, and something, and such stuff of such sort. So I was always inspired to be an electrical engineer. Well, I was so lucky when I completed my A level. I got somebody who pledged to fund for my tuition. So during the first semester, in fact during my first year, I was in the university residence. That's where I was staying. But unfortunately, at the end of my first academic year, the guy said, we are no longer we are now incapacitated to pay for accommodation. We are now paying for tuition. That's when I moved to Maxim University. Yeah.
And what's life like at the Makomborero Zimbabwe University residence?
It's quite amazing because we come from different houses, but I can safely say Makomborero Zimbabwe University resident is more than a house. It's more than a home. It's more than a home because we are provided with any need that we would require. So, because most of the services that we receive at the boarding house, we don't receive them back home there.
So you finish next year?
Next year, yes.
What's the future for Augustine?
I don't intend to get employed, but my quest is to start my own projects. My wish is to be an employer, not an employee. Because in engineering we are taught to be innovative. So that's my quest.
And in conversations that we've had before, you've highlighted that, going back to your community business, that in your community there was a lot of help, external help from NGOs.
Sure.
and things like that.
Sure.
How did that make you feel?
Most of the members of my community, they do depend on government and non-governmental grants for survival. So I took my time examining those guys who represent certain institutions who will be donating goods. I saw that these guys, they are not well off, but some of them, it seems to me like they are just sacrificing. So I just learned that in life we don't need to be rich for us to transform the lives of those surrounding us. We don't need to be rich, but all we need is love. Because I then realized that it is love which make us share the few resources that we have. And from that experience, I developed a quest to help with the little that I have, be it by the word of mouth or materially. I then developed a quest. I think that experience is the one which led me to apply for the grant. For the
Mutsidzira grant, this is.
Sure.
So Mutsidzira grant is our grant that gives a certain amount of money to past Makomborero students.
Sure.
Who have business ideas that benefit their community.
Absolutely.
Tell us about the project that you chose to do when you won that grant.
I chose a peanut butter making project. I can say this was attributed to the fact that most of the people in my community are subsistence farmers. But unfortunately, they are facing a lot of difficulties when it comes to marketing their produce. So I just decided that if I provided the market for them to sell their produce, it would be of much benefit to them. Then in turn, the raw materials will be acquiring from, that is the peanuts, will then benefit some of the selected students, the students who are vulnerable to poverty. They are academically talented, but they lack, some of them, they can't even access stationery. So those are the students who I was targeting then. From the grant, I managed to acquire sufficient capital to initiate the process. So far, I managed to purchase stationery for the 3 students that we have.
What would you say to someone who's struggling?
I have learned that negative circumstances are not indices of the end of the road. And where we are standing right now should not determine where we will stand up tomorrow. We have to continue navigating through difficult circumstances until we reach the summit.
And to someone who is thinking of maybe giving to Makomborero?
One thing I can say is, as for me, I know words cannot fully articulate how grateful am I for the services that I got from Makomborero Zimbabwe. For us to transform this world, it begins with only one person. You, Miss Mess, helped me, then I'll help the other 2, and the chain goes like that. Even if I'm given a platform to speak 1 billion words, they cannot really express and accentuate my gratitude to our donors. I'm forever grateful to them.